Think about the last time you logged into your retirement account. You stared at the balance. You did the mental math. Maybe you even opened a calculator and divided it by the number of years until you can actually stop working. The number didn't add up. You're 38, maybe 39. You've been contributing something, not nothing, but something. And somehow the balance looks almost the same as it did 3 years ago. The market went up. You kept adding money. But the number that's supposed to represent your freedom still feels impossibly small, so you did what everyone does. You Googled things to do before 40. You found lists about travel and fitness and learning new languages. All fine. None of them mentioned the one thing that actually determines whether your next 30 years feel like freedom or a slow tightening grip. You closed the laptop. You told yourself there's still time. But somewhere in the back of your mind, a question you don't want to answer is getting louder. What if I am already too late? Here's what most people don't realize. Compound interest doesn't work forever. It has an expiration date on its magic, and that date is a lot closer than the financial industry wants you to know. There's a specific threshold you need to cross before you turn 40. It's not about hitting a certain net worth. It's not about maxing out your 401k one time or reading the right investing book. It's about establishing what financial planners quietly call your compounding foundation. That's the combination of 3 things: an automated savings rate that runs whether you're paying attention or not, the elimination of all consumer debt dragging against your growth, and a level of investment consistency that turns the next 25 years into a multiplier instead of a countdown. Let me be clear about something. The math is brutal. A single dollar you invest at age 30 grows to roughly $17 by the time you retire, assuming typical market returns. That same dollar invested at 40? It becomes about $7. Wait until 50, and you're looking at $3. The system benefits from you not knowing this. Stressed workers don't negotiate. They don't leave bad jobs. They accept high-fee investment products because they're too tired to compare. And they keep telling themselves that 40 is still young enough to start later. It isn't. Here's the first foundation that has to be locked in before your 40th birthday. You need 20% of your gross income flowing automatically into wealth-building accounts. Not as a goal. Not as something you'll do when you get that raise. As infrastructure. Before you see your paycheck, before you pay rent, before anything else happens, that money moves. Retirement accounts. Index funds. HSAs if you have them. The destination matters less than the automation and the percentage. Let's make this concrete. Say you're earning $75,000 a year. That means $15,000 annually, $1,250 every single month, has to be moving into investments without you touching it. If you're at $60,000, it's $12,000 a year. At $90,000, it's $18,000. This isn't about discipline. Discipline fails when life gets hard, and life always gets hard. This is about making your 40s and 50s work for you while you're still earning. Because here's the twist. Your income in your 40s is almost always your highest. But if the pipeline isn't built before you get there, that peak earning decade just evaporates into lifestyle and expenses. Consider 2 people, both earning similar incomes. One builds this pipeline at 39. The other waits until 43. 4 years. That delay doesn't cost 4 years of contributions. It costs the compounded growth on those 4 years across the next 2 decades. The difference shows up as a choice at 62. One person can stop working. The other is looking at 6 more years minimum, maybe longer, because the math no longer adds up. The gap isn't about willpower. It's about infrastructure you either built in time or didn't. The second foundation is harder to hear, but it's non-negotiable. Every dollar of consumer debt, credit cards, car loans, personal loans, anything that isn't your mortgage, has to be gone before you turn 40. Not because debt is morally bad. Not because some guru said so. Because debt in your 40s steals from compound growth during the only decade when your income and your time horizon can still work magic together. Let's say you're sitting on $25,000 in credit card and car loan debt at age 40. Your monthly payments are around $850. Manageable, right? You've been making them for years. But here's what that actually costs you. That $850 a month, invested instead of paid to creditors over the next 25 years, would grow to approximately $510,000 by the time you're 65. You're not just paying off your past. You're funding your past instead of your future during your peak earning years, the years when every dollar you free up has the maximum time to multiply. Take two people at the same company, same salary, same age. One cleared $40,000 of mixed debt by 38. The other is still carrying it at 45. The first person redirected those debt payments straight into index funds the moment the loans disappeared. The second kept telling themselves they'd start investing soon, once things calmed down. At 62, one of them retired early with options. The other is now looking at working into their early 70s, not because they made one big mistake, but because the interest and lost opportunity cost of carrying debt through their 40s created a delay they can never recover. The math doesn't care about your intentions. It only cares about what you actually did before the compounding window closed. You now see the two foundations that separate financial freedom from permanent catch-up. But the third one is the part almost no one talks about, and it's the only one that makes the other two possible. By 40, you need to have engineered at least one significant income leap. Not a cost of living bump. Not a 3% annual raise. A real increase, 30% or more above what you were earning in your early 30s, or you need to have built a secondary income stream that brings in meaningful money. Why before 40? Because that's when the employment market stops seeing you as potential and starts seeing you as expensive. Employers will promote a 34-year-old into a role they'll never consider a 44-year-old for, even with identical skills. After 40, you're fighting age bias whether anyone admits it or not. Your window to be seen as promotable instead of costly is closing. Here's what this looks like in practice. If you were earning $65,000 at age 32, you need to be at $85,000 or higher by 39. That happens through strategic job changes, lateral moves into higher-paying industries, or aggressive negotiation when you have leverage. Or you've built $20,000 a year in side income, freelance work, rental income, a business you run on weekends. The source matters less than the fact that you expanded your capacity to earn before the market decided you'd peaked. Consider two people who started at the same company in their late 20s, same role, same salary. One stayed loyal, got steady 2 to 3% raises, and hit $68,000 by age 40. The other changed jobs twice, negotiated hard once, and landed at $95,000 by 39. At 50, the difference is staggering. The first is taking on weekend gigs just to keep up with rising costs and inflation. The second is building wealth effortlessly, because the income foundation they built in their 30s now works with the automated savings and debt-free structure they also put in place. One made the move when the market rewarded it. The other waited until the market stopped caring. So what do you actually do with all of this? Here's exactly where you start, based on how much time you have left. If you're under 35, run your foundation audit right now. Calculate your current savings rate as a percentage of gross income. Write down every consumer debt you have with its payoff date. And identify your next income move, the job change, the negotiation, the side income launch. You still have room to course correct without pain. If you're between 35 and 39, this is your sprint window. You don't have time to ease into this. Automate the 20% savings rate immediately, even if it forces you to cut things you thought were essential. Throw every bonus, every tax refund, every unexpected dollar at your debt until it's gone. And make your career move or launch your secondary income stream this year, not someday, not when things settle down, but now while the market still sees you as an asset. If you're over 40, you're not doomed. But you are in catch-up mode, and you need to be honest about that. You'll need to hit 25 to 30% savings rate to compensate for the compounding time you've lost. You'll likely need to extend your working timeline by 3 to 5 years. The math is harder now, but it still works if you stop waiting. Whichever bracket you're in, the cost of delaying one more year isn't linear, it's exponential. The gap between starting at 39 and starting at 41 is wider than the gap between 25 and 35. If you want to see exactly how to build each of these three foundations step by step, watch this next. It walks through the automation systems that make this actually happen. And subscribe, because this is the kind of knowledge the system doesn't hand you, you have to come looking for it.